David, should Al Franken really have resigned from the Senate given what has happened since and the gross misconduct that Republicans have both participated in and excused from people at all levels of government, up to and including serial assaulter Donald J. Trump? Listen, this is a complicated thing to talk about because anytime you say someone who resigned for some kind of misconduct shouldn't have done it, it's implied that you are minimizing or dismissing the importance or the severity of what they did. And Al Franken participated in some tasteless pictures where he, I'm going from memory, had his hands over the breast area above, I think, a flak jacket of a journalist who I think was sleeping and was wearing a flak jacket during some kind of trip. I don't remember exactly what the circumstances were, but I think that the left needs to be comfortable in these situations, as we've tried to do on the show, distinguishing between Al Franken taking part in a tasteless picture, uh, someone being accused of making their date uncomfortable when they were at the person's apartment. I think that that was the case with Aziz Ansari. I hope I'm remembering correctly. That is different from a consensual workplace romance that violates the rules of the workplace, right? So that's example the example out of California 25th that has now led to Christy Smith and Cenk Uygur in the special election, Katie Hill's seat, to being accused of raping someone at the other end of the spectrum, forcible rape. It's okay to say that these things are different and you're not excusing any of them, but this is where you really see a difference between Republicans and Democrats. And I have no interest in defending or attacking anyone beyond what they deserve. On many issues, Democrats and Republicans are almost or equally corrupt and wrong. On this particular issue, Republicans had a guy accused by a dozen women of sexual assault, and they elected him president. Democrats had Al Franken accused of participating in an inappropriate picture, and they demanded his resignation. So my answer is, I think the mistake was for Democrats to demand Franken resign so quickly. And I know that in part they did it because they wanted to appear as though we don't care what party the person is in. There was a lot of Me Too stuff happening at the time, Trump stuff, et cetera, et cetera. They wanted to appear fair and balanced, for lack of a better term. But they sort of shot themselves in the foot because once they called for Franken to resign, Franken basically has to resign. And now in retrospect, I get one or two emails a week where people say, David, the Democrats went too far. Al Franken shouldn't have resigned. And that is that he was actually a good senator who was doing very, very good things. I understand it. Once the calls for his resignation came, I get why he did it. I don't think he had a choice at that point. But I think the mistake was to call for him to resign so quickly. I'm not saying maybe eventually that wouldn't have been what they work out anyway, but I think it happened reflexively and it happened too soon. You know, I'm reminded of Anthony Weiner. When Anthony Weiner was caught sexting some underage girl, there were no Democrats defending Anthony Weiner, and rightly so, because there was no defense of that. And on this issue, Republicans will continue defending their sex assaulters and child molesters and the entire thing. Democrats do not, sometimes to a fault, and that's where I end up on it.